Hi, Piyush. How you doing?
Good, Julien. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, and this is mostly because of you. Thank you so much for inviting me today to have a look at the World Cup that is now on display at Vancouver Art Gallery. And this is why we have right now this little video running in the back where this guy is opening the case and whoa, World Cup. And we just saw you and I that World Cup a couple of minutes ago,
Yeah.
and that was awesome. Never in my life I thought I would have been that close to the actual World Cup. So thank you so much for that gift. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Piyush.
No, you're welcome. It's so exciting to get to be able to get so close to something this iconic.
Definitely, definitely. Never in my life I thought that I would be that close, and yeah, thank you. It's definitely a major event, and it's coming to Vancouver. So we had the chance to look at the World Cup, and again, thank you so much. But hey, we're here to do our monthly podcast about market stat and market rate update. So let's get going. Okay, lots of news to talk about. The world is in a situation that is quite uncertain with some armed conflicts around the world. Today, April 10th, 2026, we do have some major update to talk about. This time around, I'm going to bring some charts to basically do a focus from Canada to the region to actual Vancouver, to basically do a focus on our market, local market here. And I will start with this interesting chart, which is the 5-year house price change evolution since 2005 till today. So ultimately, what does it mean is the evolution of, so right now, for anybody that bought in 2005, the price of the property had increased by about 45%, right? So basically, there is this tracker, and for the first time, it went below zero, meaning that some people that bought in 2020 basically didn't make any principal on their property, which is the first time in this recent history of the market here in Canada, which was the fastest price growth in the world for the past couple of decades. So that gives you the pulse of the situation we're into. We've been talking about this in the past podcast that we had. No surprise, just another chart to illustrate the situation we're into. When it comes down to the Canadian market, there is our economist at the BC Real Estate Association that said that there is no Canadian real estate market. Okay, so what did he mean by that? So we have different markets: Montreal, Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver, that evolve differently. Okay, and if we take a end of 2021 kind of index 100, we can understand that those markets evolve differently, way differently, right? I think the one that shocked me the most right now is Montreal, that went through the dip after the peak, and since then have been climbing his way through and is now positive. So same with Calgary, that had a good year 2024, but since then they kind of went back down. But if you compare this to Vancouver and Toronto, that's both so significant decline, right? So again, here the illustration is to communicate that there is no real Canadian real estate. There are different market that composes as a whole the Canadian for the country. Do you have any question?
Nope.
Okay. What do you think of this chart?
Pretty interesting. Surprised about Montreal. I wasn't aware.
They are on their own program, let me tell you. Yeah, Montreal.
One thing I
Um,
will say about Calgary, Calgary is actually picking up a lot of investors. Like what I'm hearing, are still buying in Alberta in general. I
yeah.
can't say specifically Calgary, but
Well, the thing about the real estate in Alberta is if oil is expensive, and we're going to be talking about oil, and if oil gets over 85 US a barrel, then Alberta is happy camper.
yeah.
Right? Even in their budget, they were forecasting, I think it was a $5 million deficit for the budget, but it was prior to the conflict in Iran.
Mhm.
And the price of oil was then, okay, let's pull the chart and we'll see. I have it right there. Oil.
Yeah.
All right. Right. So if we look at right here,
Do a 5 day chart. You'll see.
2026, we're at about 20, like 55, $60 a barrel.
Mhm.
And in this case, yeah, Alberta is going to get a deficit, and but now, because oil is so expensive, they're going to have a lot more revenues. So they happy camper, and it's, in my opinion, Alberta is so subject to oil prices, and oil prices are per, definition volatile. It's like that, right? And when the oil will be kind of back to, or if we'll never know, we don't have the crystal ball, right? But if he goes back down to 50, $60 a barrel, then everybody will be like, okay, this unemployment rising, and all of that, closing restaurants, stuff like that. So right now, because the price of oil is high, a lot of people, investors, want to partake to
Yeah.
the
So Alberta's economy is doing well because they have to. They make, because the oil is stuck in the oil sands and the extraction process is so expensive. That it has to be around 75 or $80 a barrel for them to turn around a profit. Otherwise, it's a loss.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So yeah, going back to this chart right there, yeah, Calgary is doing overperforming the market for sure. And if we take our province, I have this chart right here that highlights each region, and they are evolving like pretty much together, but lately the Lower Mainland is underperforming, right? So something to keep in mind. And right now, so I'm going to focus on our market here and go over the usual, which is total inventory. So inventory is getting to a plateau. How can we interpret that? Some sellers that would want to sell, and because they know they won't get the price they want, and because there's a lot of competition, they don't want to get in the market. So they staying on the sideline. But at the same time, it's still a significantly elevated level for inventory, right? Even though we're plateauing, we haven't seen this since 2014. So
Yeah.
long time ago. So if we apply the actual demand, which is the number of sales, we are still on a very, very low level, right? Very, very low level. We have a hard time taking off from those low level. Actually, I saw a chart a couple of days ago from TD that they were forecasting an increase of sales of 13% in 2027. So apparently 2027, there will be more volume of sales. Yet to be confirmed.
I see. I wonder what they based their numbers on.
Yes, it was not communicated, but 13%. Keep in mind, we are about 35% below the 10-year average.
That's what I was going to ask. It's probably 13% based on where the chart is at as of right now.
Yeah, so 13% from where we are, it's better than now, but it's still not the level that we are.
Not where it used to be.
Exactly, on the 10-year average. So real estate is cyclical, right? And right now we are at this stage of the cycle where there's not as much sale happening. And the reason being is that because the price, they don't go down as much, right? For Greater Vancouver. So here we are basically again plateauing prices. So keep in mind, this is the home price index that combines all types of property in all the municipalities of the Greater Vancouver. Okay. So there hasn't been like a significant drop, at least on the HPI approach. Depending on the type of property and its location, I've seen myself, like, I don't know, you probably heard also about some high-end pre-sale in Vancouver that some of those investors are losing at a significant loss.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So for our viewers, the type of project we're talking about is a pre-sale market that was thriving for the longest time. That was a fruitful investments for a couple of decades here in Vancouver, where around COVID times, 2019, 2021, there was some high-end real estate development selling pre-sale, meaning you buy and then you own the contract, and then when the building completes, then you take possession of your unit. And those types of properties, they were catering for two types of buyers. One would be like for somebody for principal residence, and other types of buyer would be for investors, meaning they would buy 4 years prior to delivery, and 4 years later, they would expect that the price would go up and then sell with a profit. Right now, so we can name the actual project. Is not a singular project, but there is one in particular. It's called the Butterfly Building in Vancouver. We can show you, Yvonne. It's quite a recognizable building in the Vancouver skyline. Is the one that has, that's this one, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful building on the outside, for sure.
I'm not a big fan.
I said on the outside.
Yeah, even. I'm not a big fan. But that particular tower, some people were buying, very expensive price per square foot. We're talking 2,500, 3,000 a square foot, in the hope that it will sell for more once they take possession, and it's not happening. So we see some listing in this particular real estate project where they take $1 million loss. As simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Compared to the price they bought it at. Now they're trying to sell it, and they are listing it $1 million below what they bought it for. It's still nobody buying, right?
Yeah, because the problem with this particular building, having spoken with realtors who've helped clients purchase pre-sales on those, clients walked away. They didn't even finish it. They just walked away from the deposit. They said the issue is the interior. This property was built with investors in mind, it seems like, more than a principal residence. So that's why it's a bit more difficult to turn it over in this market.
Well, why am I not a big fan? If you like, we're doing a market update, but I'm happy to elaborate a bit more about this particular building, because for me, it never resonated to me. This building never ever resonated to me. Why? Okay, first of all, you have this round shape. So in the interior, you're going to be losing a lot of space when you place your furniture, because furniture are usually right angle. Okay, so it's very hard to actually do interior design in a rounded shape. So this particular building is a rounded shape, number one. Number two, it has this bulky white siding to it. And in my opinion, this would tend to obstruct a lot of the natural light coming in the unit. And in Vancouver, well, this picture has been taken on a beautiful day like it is today. We do have those days. However, Vancouver is known to be a rain city, okay? And we have gloomy days, overcast days, rainy days, and natural light comes at a premium. Like, it's something you don't want to, it's something you want to value. And in this particular architecture, I don't see natural light being favored inside the unit, right? So those were the two main critics that I have regarding this particular building. And there is one thing that I like very much, which is the topography, meaning this tower has been built on one of the highest spots there is in downtown Vancouver. So it's always a good thing, right? Otherwise, I don't think it's an original piece. That's how I would put it. Do you think? And then, right now we see the after effect. We see the aftermath. Like most people, they're trying to sell it at a discount of $1 million and they still can't, right? Because maybe it's not worth it, as simple as that. So going back with our market update and price evolution, we haven't really kind of dived price-wise from the peak times on the HPI's home price index approach. So which explain why we don't have as much volume, right? We still have no volume because prices are still very high for people to get in. And so in one hand, we have an inventory building up. We have price not correcting. Like we saw a bigger correction in 2018-19 when there was the implementation of the stress test. Okay, and then we went back up. At this point, we are doing like we're grinding sideways kind of thing. The other price evolution I want to share with you is this one, which is the price per square foot for condo in Vancouver in the resale market. All right, so we just talked about the Butterfly building where they were selling at $3,000 square foot. Now in the resale for condo in Vancouver, we're looking at a median price per square foot at $1,006 a foot. And we have been grinding sideways since 2018, right? We've been dipping, we've been going above, like we've been evolving in a plus minus 10% of that $1,000 mark.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're hitting it right on the head. Okay. I'm anticipating that next month it will dip below $1,000 a square foot. We'll see.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening because like from the transactions that I'm seeing, they've definitely been below $1,000 a square foot for pricing for the purchases that are going through. So makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, keep in mind that's a medium price per square foot. So we're gonna see properties that sell like higher end newer buildings.
No, fair enough. I know that's median. Yeah.
Right, that's going to be selling like for $1,400, $1,600 square foot. And then we're going to see other units, older building, there's no in-suite laundry and so on, that's going to sell around $700, $800 square foot, right?
And this is not just condo, this is all property types, right? The price,
No,
this median
is
price?
condo. This is condo.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, here you have it. Vancouver resale apartment.
I see.
So it doesn't take into consideration houses or townhouses for that matter. just condo. It's a data point that I like because there is a lot of volume of transaction in this market, and it integrates, of course, downtown, but also all over Vancouver. It doesn't include North Van or Burnaby or stuff like that. It's really proper to, Vancouver.
Okay, so the ones that I was thinking, they were primarily outside of Vancouver. So
Yeah.
outside of Vancouver, you're definitely seeing, much more, and it makes sense because Vancouver is a premium spot.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so we'll see. Right now, given the global and economical landscape, particularly due to the price of oil, in my opinion, we are in a danger zone in terms of price of oil, and we know that price of oil impacts inflation quite a bit, right? Particularly, right, like two main spending areas of everyday
yeah,
people, like transportation
yeah,
and
I'll get into that deeper.
there you go. Take it away, Piyush.
Okay, all right, so perfect. So as leading on to continuing what Julien was saying, as we know, the situation that we have been facing since February, the war in the Middle East, particularly with Iran, that had created a choke point because they had effectively shut off the Strait of Hormuz, where I believe 25 to 30% of the world's crude oil comes from. And that pushed up the price of oil. And then also, because of the uncertainty that it caused, it pushed up the 5-year bond yields. But the reason I mentioned the 5-year bond yield on this is because we have interconnected um, economies. The price of crude oil got pushed up. So on Wednesday, it was sitting at the higher point was around $115 a barrel. And once we had the announcement of a truce, now if it holds up or if it doesn't, that we don't know. But the positive news caused a huge drop in the price of oil. And right now, as of right now, it's trading at around $95 a barrel. Okay,
95.
that's right. So the impact that this, because here's the thing, we're still going to be seeing the impact of that increase of crude oil because there's a lot of so from the real estate point of view, there's a lot of construction that happens where they have fixed pricing. If a developer starts building a project and they have a subcontractor, it's fixed pricing. And at this point, when that contractor, he or she is facing that increase in transportation costs to move the material, because direct costs for them and an increase in costs that are faced by them from their suppliers, they cannot pass that on to that current developer. They have to eat that loss. So what they do is now when that next project comes to them, they have to make up for it, and then they add on those costs later on. So we will see a lingering effect of this crude oil price spike for the next couple of months. Same thing with in our regular economy where you and I go buy groceries,
Yeah.
you will see a continued effect in the increase of the cost of produce that is being delivered to your grocery stores because it just has a down the chain effect. The suppliers, they face that effect, they have that cost. They may not be able to, because they will have to eat that loss in this month, and then they will have to make up for that loss in the following month. And where they pass on those increases to the suppliers will pass it on to the stores, and the stores will have to pass it on to the consumers.
Definitely. And Piyush, this the increase of the average grocery basket price is the one that I am the most concerned about at a personal level to start with, right? Like, I have a kid, and you go to the grocery store and you buy the essentials, and you're gonna end up with like a three-figure basket, and you don't feel like you went overboard or you bought things that you shouldn't have or things like that. And in my mind, it's something that's been staying with me quite a bit since the conflict in Iran. I'm like, because I'm not an isolated case, right? Like my network of friends and stuff, we are for the most part like families and stuff. Can we stomach another increase of food prices? That's my big question right now. And the $100 mark, okay, we've been in a conflict. We've been in like in that danger zone since beginning of March. How long is it going to last? And how prices are going to reflect that all price increase, and how people are going to handle the matter. That's the thing.
Yeah. So, what's going to happen is where exactly the thought that you mentioned, people are going to now have to start making choices.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that they may have to do is they may have to, park the car because gas is so expensive. Like here, specifically in British Columbia, I believe today gas was $2.12
Yeah.
for regular.
Yeah.
Right. So if you drive anything else, you're looking at 20 to 30 cents per liter more. Diesel, I heard, was like double the price of regular gas. So people are going to,
Have to make choices. But
sorry?
how is that? Okay, so just to bring it back to our topic here, which is real estate, how is that going to impact this chart right here?
So the impact that it's going to have on this chart is on the reason I mentioned the 5-year bond yield. Because of this situation, the interest rates went up because the 5-year bond yield went up. We compared to what I was doing in January and February, where we had stability, where everybody's coming to terms with the whole trade war situation, because that's what we were dealing with in Canada before, the uncertainty. Seems like everybody's come to terms with it. The Bank of Canada has come to terms with it. We had a rate drop. So things were stable. Like I was getting really great rates for my clients. And then this Iran war situation starts, and we've had a 30 bip increase in rates and successive rates. Like I've received emails from lenders like, hey, we have to raise the rates again, sometimes 2-3 times in the same week. So, and if you, for that chart that you're looking at, because right now you have 1 year, put it to a 5-day.
5 day?
Yeah. And look at the significant impact on Wednesday when we heard the announcement that there is supposedly a truce, and we had a huge drop.
Ceasefire.
Ceasefire, yeah. Yeah, that's the correct word.
Technical ceasefire.
Yeah. And then we can see the uncertainty of the ceasefire not holding, and then all these talks. So you have a little bit of spike where it almost went right back up to where it was, but it's holding steady. But before this conflict started, the bond yield was below 3%. So now you go back a month.
I'm gonna go back a year, because here it was the end of February. We're at a very healthy 2.6.
Yeah. Great rates for clients.
Great.
So this is what we were happening in that time. As a buyer, so inventory was high, So buyers have so many options. They're going out there and looking at multiple properties at the same time. They're negotiating on the price, and they're getting great rates.
Yeah.
There's like the trifecta that anything a buyer would want, and first-time home buyers were taking so much advantage of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we are a bit being hostage of this conflict in Iran.
Pretty much, the whole world is being held hostage. So, it
Because we're all of us are a bit. I don't want to use too much of a strong word, but we're a bit traumatized from the inflation after COVID, right? And now
Mhm.
with those oil prices being where they are, inflation is set to come back.
Yep.
Right.
And
And
then
now,
as
we need to think, okay, so what is the Bank of Canada going to do? Because on one side, we're going to have like a weakening economy. So you want to boost the economy, but to boost the economy, they need to lower the rate. If they do that, they're going to increase the inflation, and knowing that because of the oil, we already have inflation, so we have a double up of inflation if they decrease the rate. So they cannot increase the rate because the economy is already weak.
so the
So
manufacturing sector it's taking hits. I believe I saw British Columbia's unemployment rate went up. So
it got steady for the past, like I got the number today was at 6.7.
6.7. Okay, I didn't read that properly then.
Yeah. So that was the kind of the good news of the day. That they didn't increase because we have the AI also effect coming onto the labor force, where we've
Yeah.
seen the US massive layoff because people are being replaced with software ultimately, right? AI is a software.
Yeah.
So interesting times.
Definitely is. So this sort of situation is putting it's put a damper in the market for now. Fingers crossed this ceasefire becomes a
Truth.
bit more permanent. There's more stability to it, so it stops this temporary chaos that's going on. Otherwise, things were starting to pick up because as we saw, as I was mentioning, that first-time home buyers, they were definitely taking this opportunity in the marketplace to take advantage of that trifecta, and they were making moves. But what I've seen is like they were making those moves, usually, buying those condos because as you saw, there's a small dip in the last in March, but up until in January, February, the inventory levels just kept going up. So
Yes, sir.
yeah. So I've actually seen what we're seeing, but along with this drop in inventory levels, is multiple offers are happening again, surprisingly.
Well, it's not as much as a surprise. Like multiple offer is a strategy that can be used by sellers and sellers agent to some situation, and the equation is not rocket science. You need to list at a very attractive price so that any potential buyers looking for that particular type of property will look at the property and the price and say, whoa,
Yeah.
that's something I'm interested in too. It's a good price. Because if we have a seller that wants to sell now, okay, and the price is the price, it's the price at a given time, okay, they don't want to they want to sell now. And a multiple offer situation is a fantastic way to have the true pulse and health of the market, because buyer right now will purchase if they feel like they get a deal out of it, right?
Yeah.
So they have a real estate project. They want to get into real estate. They want to buy their own place for multiple reasons. And if a property comes around and there is a multiple offer situation and the seller is ready to sell at whoever is the most motivated buyer at that time, great for everybody, the buyer and the seller. What I'm trying to say is that multiple offer situation is not necessarily reflective of a growth in prices and volumes. Multiple offer situation, multiple offer is a great strategy for a seller to sell now at the most motivated buyer, and that's it.
And what I also look at it from tying it to the butterfly building, because in British Columbia, property investment had been the way to do for the last 20 years. So a lot of these condos that were built, they were built with investors in mind. So they don't exactly have the best layouts or the biggest square footages. So right now, when these clients, they're going out there buying, they have their pick. So they're going to try and pick the best condo, not good square footage, good floor plan. And then that's also another reason why everybody and a lot of people end up in that making those multiple offers. I've noticed from situations that I've come across.
Yes, because I had this conversation lately where, real estate buyers, they, like we sometimes use the term of, sorry, I have a special guest. What's going on? That's Peanut. I had that conversation where we usually picture the dream home. Okay, in my opinion, like I've reviewed thousands of properties, like from entry-level market to $40 million property, and I've seen issues with all types of properties. So in my opinion, the dream home doesn't exist. And for anybody that is a real estate buyer, for the most part, what you want to do is you want to make the best purchase with the amount of money that is available to you through cash or through a mortgage at a given time. Okay, so you have a sum of money that you're willing to invest in a real estate project. You look at the type of properties that fit your needs, and you make the best choices from there. And those, are connected to numbers of criterias, such as it can be diverse and numerous. They could be many, 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 from exposure to amenities to layout to so and so. So yeah, that's the thing about making the best use of the money you have available now for the best property you can get now.
Exactly, and to mitigate this situation, what I recommend is clients reach out early and we get them a rate hold.
That's good,
because I've been able to, like, working with buyers. I filed closing this month that I started working with buyers back in December, and I got them a rate hold. So that way, it this whole volatility, it doesn't affect us.
And that's the tool that you guys have to serve your client, is the rate hold. In a rate increase phase, it's significant amount of money that is being saved.
Exactly.
For the buyer. It's fantastic. It's amazing.
It's the best tool that's available for you, because here's the thing: you don't get affected by the rate increases, but you can take advantage of the rate drops. Because with the rate drops, I can go in there and I can request the latest rate. So
basically, when you do a rate hold, you basically secure a maximum rate, but if you can find lower in the meantime,
switch it out. So it's a no-brainer.
Yes, rate hold are quite a tool.
Yeah. For buyers, as I was saying, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't hurt you. And what I usually do as part of my process is I pre-qualify you. So what pre-qualification is, I see your income. You have to provide me income documents, and I recommend clients sign up for the free Equifax report. So that way you can see what your credit score is. Let me know. And then this is, I make sure that based on your income, I figure out your down payment that's available to you, that we figure out your maximum purchase price, and then you decide what you, because I do a budget for the client. So based on your maximum purchase price and this down payment, this is going to be your mortgage payment. We make some assumptions based on strata fee property taxes, and then you figure out, does that fit the budget that you want going forward? Because that is very important for clients. You should be making a budget for yourself. How much is your monthly intake?
Budgeting.
Yeah, it's so important, especially for those clients, because many clients are still inclined to take the variable rate because those rates are the lowest at the moment. But as you should be aware, with variable rates, the Bank of Canada's decisions, if it goes up and down, especially, so that you have two types of variable rates. You have the adjustable variable rate and the regular variable. What the adjustable is as the rate increases and decreases, your payment amount increases and decreases. The benefit of that is the amortization stays the same. For the other, my video is kind of lagging. Are you seeing that on your end?
A little bit.
The benefit of the variable is your payment amount stays the same, so it's very budget friendly. But what happens is the amount that's going towards the principal and interest will increase and decrease depending on if the rate is increasing or decreasing. The downside of that is it also affects your amortization. Your amortization will change if that the amount is going towards your principal drops, then your amortization increases. So those are the kind of two things that you have to look for. So that's why when a client picks a variable rate, I sit down with them and I make a budget and I say, okay, if the rate were to increase twice in a year, and so 25, 20, so it goes up by 50 bips. So let's say you are at 399 and it goes up by 50 bips. Now you are at 4.49. Can you handle that payment? So that's why budgeting is very important.
But isn't this already taken into consideration because of the stress test?
It is taken into consideration with the stress test, but stress test is contract rate plus 2%. So that is the higher threshold, but at the end of the day, it still will squeeze you as the buyer, because now more of the money will go towards a mortgage where you're technically, if you're in a VIRM, via a variable interest rate mortgage, where if it increases, more money goes towards the interest, it's not paying down your principal. So you're actually with that, with the adjustable. With the adjustable, when the rate goes up, your payment goes up. So that is where it's going to put the squeeze in your monthly budget. Like now you're spending more money on the mortgage. Then let's say if it goes up by $200, then that could have been going towards savings or something else. And on the other side with the VIRM, sure, your payments stay static, but what happens with that is you're going to be paying that mortgage a little bit longer because the amortization will go up, unless you talk to the bank and you put in a lump sum payment. So that way you make sure that your principal is going down as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the kind of strategies that you have to look at. So I always work with the clients, make a budget. And obviously with the fixed rate, you don't have to worry about it, because if you take a 3-year or a 5-year, whatever the rate is, whatever the payment is, that will stay the same for the term that you signed up for. But obviously, those fixed rates are higher to offset that, because now the bank has to. How it works is the bank purchases the funds and you get it at that certain cost.
Mhm.
That's why it has higher premium.
Yeah, but you have the certainty of paying during the whole term the same amount of money, the same amount of principal is going there, and so on.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, in those hectic times, will not complain, because some people are in a harder situation that we are into. But we'll keep monitoring the evolution and share with our audience any signs of acceleration either way where the market is going.
Yeah.
Because that's what we try to do, is to reveal from our analysis and charts where things might head towards. So, in my opinion, my big call of the day would be that next month will dip below $1,000 square foot. So let's see if I'm right. And that's gonna be also interesting to see when we'll start to witness like a price increase. Like, at some point we're gonna see the price per square foot, the median price per square foot, going up, and we'll be happy to share, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it will. You'll be the first to know, and that's why we're doing this podcast. Very good. Well, anything to add, Piyush?
Get pre-qualified. If you're a buyer, reach out.
Piyush, say your contact info, please.
Phone number is 778-994-3099. When we post this online, you'll find our socials on there. You can contact Julien and myself, and book an appointment, and we can take it from there.
It sounds like a plan. Very good. Well, Piyush, thank you so much. Enjoy the spring. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.